thinking it's been a long day. I wonder if you can all stand up for me. I'm sure many of you are dying to do this. If you're up for it, I'm thinking maybe have a bit of a stretch. Go to your left, go to your right. Maybe high five the person next to you. So we'll have a little stretch while we're waiting for the presentation. How is everyone? Pretty well? Is everyone okay? You might as well stand up while you're waiting for the presentation, because I know it's been a long day, and for those of you who kind of to stay, it looks like a lot of people have actually done their talks and gone, which is a little bit of a shame, but yeah. The rest of you, thank you so much for sticking around. Titles. As most of you, like most of you here, I have been pursuing a life of success, a chase for success, ticking lots of boxes. In addition to these, entrepreneur, speaker, author, mentor, there's also an LLB, a first-class master's. Now I'm sure a lot of you here feel as if it's something that we pursue. How many of you here would say you want to be seen as being successful? Raise your hands for me. Okay, so what if we take it a bit deeper? How many of you, can you hear me if I talk like this, if I'm not next to the microphone, because I like to walk around. So how many of you want to be living a life that feels as good as it looks? Yeah, most of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, chasing success is something that we all do. We are wired for growth. But there comes a time when in the pursuit of this, we often forget about joy and fulfillment. As a person who has done the right thing, as in getting the titles, doing the work, a lot of you will find, I'm sure, at least some of you, that you're going to bed anxious, you're waking up exhausted, you're snapping at family, you're winning, but you're still disconnected. You go home at the end of the night and you can hear the voices, but you're not quite sure what the person's saying because you've forgotten how to have meaningful conversations. Now imagine waking up clear, taking a second to just breathe, taking the space and the time to just take in what's going on around you, the actual world, being calm under pressure, present for your loved ones, choosing your schedule instead of your schedule choosing you, loving your work, peace in your decisions. How many of you would like that? Yeah? How many of you feel like you've got that already? Excellent, but only one of you, yeah? Now, Tony Robbins said it best. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Because if you have done everything right, and you're still not getting that feeling of joy, you know when you're a kid and something exciting is happening, like it's your birthday, it's Christmas, or your family are going on an outing, and you get that feeling inside you that you're really excited. And as you get older, that feeling gets less and less. And the reason for that is because we become so focused on pursuing certain things. We're conditioned from school, you know, get the qualifications, get the job, get the promotion, provide for your family, get the right house, that we forget, what about me? How do I feel? But the good news is, fulfillment can be engineered. The bad news is, it's not taught in any school or any kind of academic institution. It's not something we are taught to chase. But ultimately, what's it all for? If we have done everything right and we're not waking up peaceful, what's it all for? Only 1 in 3 adults say that they're truly fulfilled. We let that land for a second. And if nearly 80% feel disengaged at work, that means only 20% are actually, you know, feeling any kind of joy. You know, income does increase happiness. That is proven. That's a fact. But only up to a point. Strong relationships predict long-term fulfillment. And how can you be focused on a relationship if you're not really there because you're so burnt out trying to do all the other things? It's often the thing that we leave to the end. Our partners, our You know, we're always chasing the next thing. You come home, I remember when I was raising my children, and it'd be a case of you bring them home, you feed them, you bath them, and then you get ready for the next day. Now the truth is, if you want to go from that place of feeling anxious and restless to that place of waking up in the morning and thinking, oh my God, I'm excited for my day, you know, you're going to need some kind of a system or process to get you from here to here. Because, as many of you know, if you're planning for a degree, a promotion, a business, you will have followed some kind of steps to do that, yeah? You would have researched, you would have filled in forms, you would have... But how many people in this room have sat down and created a plan to feel fulfilled in their life? Is there anybody here who's actually done that? Okay, again, minority. Very few people have actually sat down and done that. I noticed when you were speaking, you're also a grandmother. I'm a grandmother too, I'll get into that. But you know, when you can engage with the next generation and then the generation after that, that's legacy. And if we can't leave a legacy, if we just come to the planet, function, 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 and then die, then it was all for nothing. So you need some kind of vehicle, you need some kind of a structure. Okay, who am I to be telling you this? So, as it says up there, wife, mother, lots of titles, grandmother, entrepreneur, international speaker, and obviously I'm coaching, and I'm a published author. And the people I'm coaching aren't unsuccessful. The people I'm coaching are actually very successful. The problem is they've forgotten about looking after themselves. Now, in the short time that I started searching for fulfillment, I started ticking a lot of boxes. You know, I've now been published in magazines, I've got awards and various other things, but my why, as we all have a why, is my family. And we all have different whys. These are my 3 sons, my daughter-in-laws, and my 4 granddaughters. And to me, unless I'm connected with them, unless I am feeling joy and spending time with them, my definition of happiness would be doing things you love with the people you love. And if I'm not connected with them, then it's, you know, it doesn't matter what other success I get in my life. You know, I can win awards, I can do all of those things, but it won't mean anything unless I'm ticking my why box. So a lot of people look at our life now, man and husbands, and they think that we're lucky. The fact is, the truth of the matter is, far from it. When I came to this country not knowing a single word of English, I was 4.5 years old, I met my dad for the first time. He'd come 5 years before us, settled, brought a house, got us all over, youngest of 6 children, and at first, I was the lucky girl. And any Asian will tell you, you know, you get the label of, oh well, we got our road to England at the same time that she was born, she's our lucky charm, golden child, until I wasn't. As I got older, as I started asking questions, because I was the youngest, I'd seen it from nursery, so I'd gone to nursery, not knowing a word of English, but then learned everything. I asked for sovereign at my school when I wanted, and it's a memory that stuck into my head. I asked for sovereign because I wanted to wash my hands. They had no clue what I was doing. I remember rubbing my hands together and trying to say to them, look, you know, I need to wash my hands. And after the confused looks on the nice, sympathetic teachers' faces, I realised that I've got to do better. Within a year, I'd passed all of the spelling tests. I was doing better than anybody in the school. But the problem with having that kind of a mind was that I also saw a lot of other things. And as I got older, I started questioning. Saw a lot of conflict between the brown house inside, the brown world inside the house, with the white world outside the house. And as I got older, I got more and more comfortable, so I started asking questions. And the more questions I asked, the more I was shut down. And being the inquisitive little girl that I was, I couldn't handle being shut down, so I started asking more questions, getting angry. And the older I became, the angrier I got. So when I got punished, and I got punished quite heavily, I got punished physically, to a point where when I was 15 15 years old, I took a bottle of paracetamol up to my bedroom and started swallowing until I could swallow no more. And I had my stomach pump, they brought me back home, and I ran away again. And I kept running away until I found out the only other way was to get married. Luckily, I met my childhood sweetheart and we ran away together. They brought us back, we had the huge wedding. 1,300 people at our wedding. No one spoke to us because we were the bad guys. We were the ones who ran away. Same caste, same religion, everything. But we'd run away. So being accepted by my in-laws was just, my mother-in-law said my dad had loosened the noose from his neck and put it on theirs. And that was, so I've got some horror stories, hence my memoir that's coming out in the, later on in the year. But anyway, let's say we got through it. And it was a very, very long, complicated journey. We went from having absolutely nothing, being completely broke, to having a really good life. And it wasn't easy, but obviously my presentation is 90 minutes, and I think I've got 15 minutes, so I'm going to rush through this one. But fast forward to a few years ago, I've got 15 minutes.
That's right, yeah. There's 4 minutes left.
Okay. So everything started to look amazing. Successful businesses, a beautiful home, everything that you can imagine. We were travelling the world, and say that I didn't actually have a passport. And my first holiday was in my mid-20s. So you can imagine, fast forward a few years later, our children are older, they got married, and we've got this wonderful life. But something was stirring because I still hadn't dealt with my childhood trauma. So I decided to start writing, and writing became my therapy. But when I announced my book, everybody turned. Now, we were already having some issues with our siblings because we had overtaken everybody. So we'd gone from the jokers, the ones who everybody thought was going to completely fail, to overtaking everybody. So once the book was announced, it was kind of like, okay, let's get them. Let's get her. And they started to sabotage our lives. I was told in April 2023, I think it was 2022, why are you going on Instagram? I've started a motivational page. Nobody wants to see what you're doing. So I shut down my page for 3 years. In April 2025, I was lying by the beachside, found out my niece had just got married without telling me. And it was kind of like the last straw for me because I thought, well, okay, I've been shrinking my entire life. Now I'm trying to grow, and this is what's happened. So I watched this video, and it just completely changed my life. And I realised that all of the things that I had done, wherever I tried to grow or try to fulfill my potential, my things that were missing, I was talking earlier about fulfillment, the things that gave me joy, I've been shut down. And it was a shame because this show won a BAFTA, that video was played around the clock, that film I did won a BIFA. But every time I tried something, I was shut down by my siblings, so I started to shrink. So this had all now come to the surface. And I realised that my head and heart weren't aligned, even though I had all of this success. And like a lot of you, I was just taking boxes, thinking that every step was going to give me joy. I recently watched it on a TV show called Billions, and he said I hit 10 billion, but the rush was like finding a $20 note on the sidewalk. It came and it went. And the reason for that was because the head and the heart aren't aligned. When those things aren't aligned, it doesn't matter how much money you've got in the bank, how much status you have, the titles you have. If you're missing your calling, if you're missing the things that bring you joy, it's all for nothing. So then I went back to work on myself. So I've written my memoir, and I started rebuilding the things that I wanted to do. And it meant cutting boundaries and cutting off people. It was very, very painful, but it gave me courage. So I started creating a structure, shifting my beliefs. And within that, I created a program called the 7-Step Fulfilment Formula. Now, honestly, I can tell you this, it will change your life. And I know I haven't got a lot of time to talk to you about it, but I basically have 7 steps starting from awareness and then the end with achievement. I am now coaching athletes, politicians, very, very successful people in the public eye. And the reason that I'm able to do this is because I have literally been through everything that I am now teaching. And I've created systems and processes. My children now are fulfilled on a level that I didn't even think was possible when I was their age. My oldest son has just bought his 6th property. My second is a property developer. My third is now taking over our family businesses. We're in retail and property. So this, for me, is about giving back. Finally, answering my calling. And as I said, I haven't got much time to talk to you about it today. Please do come and see me if we're still around at the end. But I have created something special for today, and obviously it's a shame that a lot of people have left because I've only done this for today. This foundation program I have is actually 797, but what I'm doing is I am giving a lot of bonuses. I've got some books with me. I'm only able to do this for 10 people, but I am offering all of this, so the transcript of the module videos, a signed copy of the book, 7 personalised worksheets, 12 months private community membership, and 20% off future programmes. And this is all worth about £5,000. And for today, if you put in the code FF500, you'll get that for £297. So if you scan that barcode, that will take you to my Instagram page, and the links are on there. So if you want to either take a picture of this in case you want to do it later, the code is FF500. So if you have your mobiles, please feel free to take a snapshot of that so you don't lose out. As I said, I can only do 10 at that deal, but I promise you it's a completely transformational program. And the reason I'm doing this, I normally talk about a story. When I flipped through past one of my slides, it had me on a bus, and there was a woman that helped me. And I will never forget that. And I told myself that I was completely broke. I was catching the buses, I had 2 toddlers with me. Long story short, I hitchhiked, and this woman took me somewhere, and I decided that day that one day I'm going to be in a position to do things for people. So my programs aren't stupidly priced for that reason, because I'm able to help people too. So please do take advantage of that today if you get a chance. And at the very minimum, for the price of $297, is an evening of fine dining, a weekend getaway, things you won't remember probably next year. But at the maximum, it could completely change your relationships with yourself and others. Elevated life, inner peace. Please do try it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.